Welcome to the And She Looked Up podcast. Each week, we sit down with inspiring Canadian women who create for a living. We talk about their creative journeys and their best business tips, as well as the creative and business mindset issues all creative entrepreneurs struggle with. I'm your host, Melissa Hartfield, and after leaving a 20-year career in corporate retail, I've been happily self-employed for 12 years. I'm a graphic designer, an illustrator, and a multi-six-figure-a-year entrepreneur in the digital content space. This podcast is for the artists, the makers, and the creatives who want to find a way to make a living doing what they love. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the And She Looked Up podcast. As always, I'm your host, Melissa, and I am so excited to welcome you back to not only a brand new episode after a summer of replays, but also a brand new season of the podcast. And I am very happy to welcome back the incomparable Heather Travis again today. Welcome, Heather.
Hello, hello.
Did you have a good summer?
I did. We were just saying off the air how it feels like it's flown by, and I haven't really taken advantage of all the summer things. So I need to make a bucket list to accomplish in like the next maybe 10 days.
Before the pumpkin spice lattes are...
That's exactly it. Before my like summer planters die and I'm forced to put mums out there, and then it's just officially fall.
Yeah. Although I am very excited about fall. Fall is my favorite season of the year. I love September. It feels like the real new year to me.
Me too.
Which is why we are launching season 3 of the podcast in September. So today, Heather and I, we had a topic in mind, but we've changed our mind at the last moment about what we're going to be talking about today. And this is based on some things that we have both been seeing on the internet over the last 3 or 4 months, I would say. And that is the love-hate relationship that creatives have with social media. And so in recent months, there have been a lot of creatives who have been speaking out about how Instagram is affecting their creativity, their art, their mental health, and a lot of other things. There are several who have stated that they are trying to leave Instagram. There are others who have started putting boundaries around when they're going to create, how they're going to create specifically for these channels, and a whole host of things. And we just felt like this is actually a really important topic, particularly for this audience. And it's something that Heather and I would say every time Heather and I have a conversation, whether it's on the podcast or just a phone call, this seeps into our conversation somehow.
For sure.
So,
either something really super awesome or really super like nail biting. Yeah.
Yes.
One or the other.
And,
or both.
Yeah, all of the above.
All of the above.
And recently, Instagram made some statements about where they were taking the platform, which, to be really frank, should not have been surprising to anybody who has been on the platform for a long time. They weren't really telling us anything new. They were just kind of stating it out loud for the first time. They have stated that they're moving away from being just a photo sharing platform, and they're going to be focusing more on video content and on shopping experience and on creating a better environment, ironically, for small creatives, and a few other things. And honestly, if you've been on Instagram for any amount of time, the announcement about video should not have been a surprise to you.
No, God, no.
So yes, there's a lot going on there. And one of the things that I think more and more of us who create are starting to realize is that social media has created this insatiable demand for new content daily, hourly. All the time.
Minutely.
Minutely.
Is that a word? Nowly.
Yes. And for most of us who create, that is just not how we work. At least not to create something of quality.
No.
I think. And so today we are going to be having a deeper dive into drawing boundaries and figuring out what works for each of us individually. And so take what you can from this conversation and recognize that we're not trying to make a blanket statement about what everybody should be doing on these platforms. What we're trying to do is give you all the opportunity to take a step back and think about how these platforms are helping you, helping your business, and to really critically ask yourself important questions like, are they actually helping my business? Could I do things that decrease my reliance on these platforms? Or could I start putting some boundaries in place? How does my body feel when I'm on these platforms? All these things that sometimes I think we brush aside and try to ignore because we feel like we just have to keep churning it and putting it out there, because if we don't, our business is going to suffer.
Yeah, and I think too, realizing that there's so many opportunities, and I'm saying this as a person who's been pulling back a little bit recently, and we'll talk about all the reasons why, but there are so many opportunities. And so it's not about telling everybody, here's what you need to do. It's about looking at all the sides of each coin and figuring out what works for you and your business right now. And I think that that's the thing too, is that it will always be a moving target. You will always, right now, I'm pulling back because I need other parts of my business are much more important. I need to put energy there, not here. That might change 2 weeks from now. And so you need to sit and assess that for yourself. And I think that's the big thing, particularly as an artist and creative, is making the rules up for yourself. We all hate rules. And so why try to put ourselves into the social media box when we can make our own little pretty boxes and paint it whatever color we want?
Yes, absolutely. I am just going to mention before we dive in that about a year ago, actually, Heather and I recorded an episode number 22, on how to promote your work outside of social media. And that is it's actually one of the most popular episodes we've ever recorded. But that's a great episode to go back and have a listen to if you are thinking, oh my God, I can't function without social media. There are many ways your business can function without social media. So that's a great episode to go have a listen to if you are thinking about what you could do outside of the algorithm. I always laugh when I hear the algorithm. So many years ago, back in my corporate days, I was working in the IT department for a national retailer. And we were working with our software developers, and one of the developers was talking about, he had gone out for dinner with, I believe, one of the franchise owners for this retailer. And the fellow had been talking about, I think they had had a few drinks, a few beverages, and the store owner was trying to get our developer to tell him what the algorithm is. This was long before social.
That's hysterical.
This was long before social media was a thing. And he was like, what's the algorithm? It's all about the algorithm. Like, this guy knew long before social media was this thing that it's going to be all about the algorithms, baby.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting to me how we have allowed these algorithms to take control of our lives to an almost scary point, quite frankly.
Yes.
And I think this is something we really have to take a closer look at in terms of how we're allowing.
Like, why do we listen?
Yes.
Like, I feel like the algorithm is the they. And you're like, well, you should do what they say. Well, who's they? Who are they? Like, why am I listening to them?
Yes. I mean, remember, how many of us quit our jobs because we were tired of the man telling us what to do?
Exactly.
I hate to break it to you, but social media and Google, SEO, has essentially replaced the VP that you used to report to.
Yes. Except this one, you don't even know where their office is.
Yeah, you don't even get to have a conversation. It's just like, where are they?
Where are they? Yes. No, exactly. And there's no performance reviews or discussions or anything. And this Honestly, as a social media consultant and as my day-to-day job, when I work with small businesses and they ask me, okay, so what's the best time of day for me to be posting? And they're like, according to the algorithm, there are, in fact, best times of the day.
Hmm.
But the answer that I give to every small business is the answer is, when do you have the time to do it? That's the best time. Because I want to see a check mark in the box. That's it. I just want to see you get it done for your business. And if you don't have time to get it done at 2 o'clock, because that's when all of your customers are in the store, then you need to pick your poison. And the customers in the store at that moment, if you're telling me that you're prioritizing hypothetical customers on Instagram over the people who are physically in front of you, you've got your business messed up. And so you need to think about yourself, your business, like same with me as an artist at home. I could spend time creating a TikTok, or I could spend time actually making a painting. And I need to figure out what the priority is.
Yes. So let's talk about this a little bit, because I think this is really interesting. And it's one of the reasons I don't do as much on YouTube as I kind of would like to. Because I do enjoy making videos. I don't enjoy making reels or TikToks. That's just the amount of work that goes into those for the shortness of them is just not worth it to me. But this is something, there's so many times where I sit down and I think, oh, I'm going to film a process video, or I'm going to film myself doing this. And then I have to stop every few minutes, adjust the camera, change the camera angle, or get the footage off my phone or whatever, so that I have room for a new clip, etc., etc. You know what? Sometimes I just want to sit down and make the thing.
Yes, it just sucks all the, and that's when I had a DIY blog. That was one of my primary reasons for giving up the DIY blog, was that I absolutely love pulling out the power tools and the paint and making the thing and doing the thing and stopping every GD second, like 5 seconds, to take a picture and make sure it was the perfect picture to show somebody how to use a fucking drill, which the internet can tell them how to do. It drove me crazy. And so I shouldn't be the they telling you to what to do either. Like, I just want to be here to inspire you. And if you don't know how to do the thing, figure it out yourself. That's how I figured it out. Do you know what I mean? So that was always.
I mean, if you feel exhausted before you even begin, because the thought of
exactly
of all the stopping and starting and the documenting and the
like
explaining,
if it takes the fun out of it.
Yes, absolutely.
But if that brings you great joy, and so this is the thing. Melissa and I, this does not give me great joy, is documenting all of the steps. If that adds to your enjoyment of doing the thing or making the thing, bring it on, and you do you. Like, I think that's the most important to remember, is that if adding those steps, if doing that gives you great joy as part of the whole process, you do it.
Yes,
it doesn't give me great joy, so I don't do it. And that, I think, is the most important thing of anything from this episode, is you do you. Like, you do you. And that, I think, is a very, I mean, that's like a life lesson, but you do you on social media. Don't worry about the algorithm or what other people are doing or what brings other people joy or not joy. Just you.
Yes, 100%. Like, I love editing videos. I love the editing process. And I often think, wow, if I could just have somebody follow me around with a camera while I'm doing this, so I don't have to stop every 5 minutes, I would do more videos. But I don't. I'm not in that position. And I know there are people who are in that position. So I think that's one of the things you have to take a look at, a really critical look at, is the return on investment for the time that you are putting into creating to appease an algorithm that wants you to create every day.
Yes. And like Angelina, oh my gosh, and I'm forgetting what episode it was in, but I loved what she said in an episode last year on spend more time creating than you do consuming, create more than you consume. And that I love. And I think of that often when I find myself going down a TikTok rabbit hole, and I have given myself 5 minutes, and that 5 minutes was a nice diversion to let some paint dry. But beyond that, I'm spending more time and I'm wasting time, right? And I loved that, create more than you consume, because that's what we're here to do, is create the thing, make the thing. And sometimes that thing is a really cool reel or a really cool TikTok to highlight a new collection or new launch or your Christmas cards or right. Like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes that creation is making the content, but don't think of making social media content just for making social media content to appease the algorithm is like the last thing that should be on any of our lists as an artist or creative. Uh,
Absolutely.
yeah.
There is a lot of bad and mediocre content out there that is
Mm-hmm.
only created because people are trying to keep an algorithm happy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so you really need to think about that when you are creating content. Recently, I shared some sketchbook pages from old sketchbooks of mine that I had used to inspire a piece that I had put out for my newsletter subscribers.
Which I loved that Under the Sea. That was so awesome. I love it.
Yeah, so every month I do a free coloring sheet for my newsletter subscribers, and I had a subscriber last month ask if I could do an Under the Sea theme because she likes my sea creatures that I draw from time to time. Mm-hmm. And I thought, oh, this is great. So I went back through my sketchbook because I knew I had drawn a lot of these in the past. It's just something that I gravitate towards. So I had many sketches in my book. Some of them were 4 or 5 years old. And I did a post about this because I mentioned that it's important to have spaces where you can get all those ideas out without people watching.
Yes.
And that's what sketchbooks are to illustrators and artists. Like those are our private places where we go to noodle on ideas. You know, you sit there and you create a few line drawings, or you're just using a pencil or a pen or something. And sometimes you're just playing with different techniques. And it's just a playground. It's an experimental spot where you go to kind of test things out. And it's also a place where you go to just kind of, you have a spark of inspiration from something you saw on your walk or on the bus or whatever. And you just open your sketchbook and do something really quickly to kind of catch that inspiration before it disappears. And then you go back to it and flesh it out later. And this isn't just for people who draw. I do the same thing with notebooks. I have a different notebook for each of my businesses. And those notebooks are like, if I have an idea, I just grab it. I open it up and I just jot down the thing that probably a year from now I'll read it and go like, what was that supposed to be? But this is the thing. You need to figure out which stuff is the private noodling, experimenting, testing things out stuff, and which is the stuff that goes on your feed or on your channel or whatever platforms you're using. And that's not to say that you can't let people in to see the behind the scenes.
Yes.
But the behind the scenes needs to happen, I think, before you share it. Like away from the camera. And then you can share it after the fact, kind of.
Totally. And I love that. I think the behind the scenes, that's exactly it. And like you can't storyboard the behind the scenes. I think the behind the scenes have to happen organically.
Yes.
And then you let it spill out. And I quite often, I'll share works in progress on my Instagram. The only works in progress that I ever share are works that I am completely confident in the direction that it's headed. Yeah. I sure as shit am not sharing. There's so many works in progress that I have on the go in my studio. And there, to the point that like 2 Saturdays ago, we had a dinner party and everybody marching through the house, of course. And I prepped my studio knowing that a whole bunch of people would be coming through it. And I left a work on an easel that I was super happy with everybody seeing that it was a work in progress. Everything else was turned around on the easel because this is mine. I am not ready for anybody to see it, whether you're in my house or on my Instagram. And so those boundaries are there. And I think you need to be very clear about those and be comfortable with, in my case, which canvases you leave exposed. I'll use that word. Because I think it is, for me, it's very exposing. Like I feel, funny enough, I remember it was my stepdad. It was quite a while ago, but he was in my studio and he went to flip over a painting that I had deliberately flipped. And I was like, what are you doing? And it was literally, I had the exact same visceral reaction as like, you're opening my door as a teenager and like, I'm in my room. What are you doing? This is my space.
Yeah.
And it was a very like, and he was like, what's wrong? And I was like, it's a work in progress. He was like, can't I see it? I'm like, well, I don't really want you to, because it's not ready for anybody else's eyes. And I think one of the things that I love about Instagram and social media and use it for and let it fill me up with is inspiration. I love seeing what other artists create. I love seeing what food people are cooking, because to me that inspires color palettes. I love seeing people on hikes and adventures and doing wonderful things. I love seeing my friends with their kids and doing, on dog walks. I love seeing all of that. But the other thing that we can also allow it to do is foster like negative competition. So not, wow, look what that artist is doing. It's, oh, wow, look what that art. Oh, like, and I'm not doing that. And should I do more? And not feeling like you're doing enough, and that you have to draw such a firm line between letting people inspire you and letting that inspiration weigh you down, right?
I think the thing that we all have to remember, and it's so easy to forget, you sit down with your phone and start scrolling, and the next thing you know, an hour has gone by, and maybe you feel inspired, but probably after an hour you feel more crappy than you do good, frankly.
Yeah.
But I think the important thing to remember is these are tools.
Yes.
Okay? And a tool shouldn't take over your life. A tool should make things easier for you. Right? A tool should have a purpose. Okay, when you go into your studio, you pick up your paintbrush and you use that because it's easier than using your fingers.
Yes.
Or maybe it's not easier than using your fingers, but it's less messy than using your fingers.
It still ends up all over my fingers. I don't understand how that happens, but yes.
Right? You go and sit down at your computer to write some copy for a client. Yep. Your computer is the tool. It doesn't run your life.
No.
It's there to make things easier for you. And that is what you need to think of social media as. It is a tool. It is a tool to help you feel inspired.
Yep.
It is a tool to allow you to market. It's a free marketing tool, although I would argue I believe we give it an awful lot.
Yes.
We don't give it money, but we give it an awful lot of other things.
Oh, so many other things. Yeah.
It's a marketing tool. In some instances, it is actually a place where you can physically sell your product.
Yeah.
So
it's a research tool. It's so many, like community building. Like there's so many things you can use these tools for. But I'm totally with you. It's a tool. And this in terms of you, and we've talked about it in previous episodes, platforms come and go, right? And so getting married to Instagram or being like, I'm the TikTok person or all of those things are simply like, it's the paintbrush that you're going to forget to clean one day and then it's pooched. That's the end of it. And Instagram could go away or they could charge a fee and you could say, I'm not paying $89 a month to participate in this, right? And that return on investment is going to disappear for you. So you have to be ready to let go of it. And I think if you're so married to it and so like if you only ever use one pen or one paintbrush or one computer or like save all your files to one place, right?
Your paintbrush dies, your computer dies,
yeah,
your soldering iron dies, whatever, your camera dies. You go out and you get a new one.
Yeah.
If your Instagram account dies because Instagram decides for whatever reason, we don't like you anymore, you don't get to go out and buy a new one. You've lost the tool.
You've lost it. And that's why like getting people to sign up for your e-newsletter, making sure that you have a website, like a property that you own. These are things that you can do to control your destiny, just like you can control the inventory of your product. You control that. And being a slave to the algorithm and to the platforms themselves is not, you need to use those tools to move your business forward, but they are not in and of themselves the moving of your business forward. They can help you.
Yes.
Absolutely they can, but they're not the reason that your business is going to succeed or fail.
You said something interesting there that I kind of would like to talk about a little bit
Mm,
more. You mentioned that something about along the lines of like if you paid $89 a month for this.
yes.
That's a really interesting way to think about it. Like
Yep.
if Instagram were to say tomorrow, "Hey, you know what? We're a marketing tool. And
Yep.
if you were using traditional marketing channels, you'd be paying a lot of money.
Hmm.
So, we're going to become a paid service.
Yep.
We're going to charge you $100 a month, or we're going to charge you $500 a month, or we're going to charge you $10 a month for every 1,000 followers you have."
Yep.
What would your attitude toward Instagram become?
Yeah, exactly. Because what are those people worth to you, and how much time are you spending on them? And
What kind of
what are
return
you
on investment are you getting?
exactly what kind of return on investment are you getting?
Because you are paying Instagram right now, or
Yep.
YouTube, or TikTok, or whoever. You're paying them with your time.
Yep.
You are paying them with your content. You are creating. These platforms don't exist without our content.
We give them so much data, and data is numbers. We
Yes.
give them so much data, it's not even funny.
That's,
Keywords, themes, photos, the data that's in the photos, like location, you name it, locations, time of day, insights, average age, data coming out the wazoo. And
mhm.
so, yeah, and
That's how they
funny
build
enough,
the algorithm.
that's how they build the algorithm. Exactly. And I'm just thinking, funny enough, in terms of money that I have given Instagram over the past little while, I've been very strategic about it, in that every paid Instagram post that I have done has been directly to the goal of getting people to subscribe to my
Yes.
newsletter.
Yeah.
And so I look at the return on investment, not so if I give Instagram $30, I'm not looking at how many, yes, I absolutely get, more engagement on the photo. Yay. I get more saves. Yay. And I'm not belittling those. I'm very grateful for them. But the return on investment that I'm looking for, that I'm actually making a business decision on, is if I gave them $30, how many new subscriptions did I get?
Yes.
And was that effective for me in that, and what did that subscription, so if I got 30 new people, that's $1 a subscription. That was a very valuable use of my time
Yes.
and effort and budget. But if you were just doing it to get likes on photos,
No.
what does that do for you?
No. No. It's you're paying people to tell you you're popular,
Exactly. Like
right?
I have paintings that literally
Can't buy
hundreds of
me
people,
love, Patrick Dempsey.
exactly, hundreds of people have liked the photo and said this is so so beautiful. It's still sitting in my studio, and I have no cash money for it.
Yeah.
So what did those likes do for me? Nothing.
Yes.
Now, yes, lots of people found me. They're now paying attention. Maybe it's the next piece that they'll buy. But truly, like, from in the cold, harsh light of business day, what did those likes do for me? Nothing.
Yeah, and this is where you have to be clear on the difference between vanity metrics, which are things
Yeah.
like likes and followers and those kinds of metrics, and metrics that actually result in money moving
Yeah.
around in your
Yeah.
business and not
Yeah.
just out of your business.
Action. Like, there's
Yes.
action somewhere. And it might not be money right now, but it's action towards money. Like, signing up for my e-newsletter, to me, is like a step in the right direction. You've come into the bank branch. You haven't opened an account yet, but you're in my branch.
This is what you have to think about. Like in a group that I'm in recently, somebody mentioned that they were taking the next day to film the next 2 weeks worth of reels for their Instagram account. And I was sitting there thinking,
Oh, Christ.
that's a full day of your time
Mm-hmm.
to create 14 30-second videos.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know this person's business model or how they make money, but for you to consider taking a full day of your schedule every 2 weeks to create content just for Instagram that could, in
Mm-hmm.
theory, be repurposed to TikTok and also to YouTube Shorts. I
Yep.
really hope if you're taking a full day to create content like that, you are repurposing it
Yeah, like,
across multiple
you better
platforms.
skin that cat so many different ways. It's not even funny. Yeah.
You know, I wonder if she had actually sat down and said, okay, these reels generate on average this many
Mm-hmm.
clicks through to my website and this many purchases.
Yeah.
And okay, you know what? If you're pulling in $2,000 worth of gross revenue over the course of those 2 weeks from those reels, then I would say you're probably breaking even.
Yeah, like that's a lot of time. Like a whole day out of your week, that's a lot of
Yes.
time.
That could be spent on new product development, that could be spent on nurturing your list or talking to your list,
Totally.
that could be spent on approaching wholesale accounts. And I'm not saying marketing's not important. We need to market, but social media has all these algorithms because they've figured out their own return on investment. They know
Yeah.
what they need. It's like these companies have investors and bottom
Yeah.
lines and metrics that they have to meet every month to keep their shareholders happy. You need to think about your business in the same way. Like,
Totally. Like use the tool, don't let the tool use you.
yes.
And I think that's what I see a lot of content creators is they'll jump on trends and do things. And I'm a TikToker. I love my TikTok. I also set a timer and give myself 5 minutes to create something. So I'm inspired by something, I have an idea, I set a timer, and I determine whether good enough is good enough to post because it's a friggin' TikTok. This is not like I am not making a painting, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is not my art that I'm putting out there. This is a fun way to promote me and my art that I'm putting out there, right? I am not a TikToker. I'm an artist who uses TikTok. And so that 5 minutes, if it's good enough to put out there, great. Put it out there. Great. A whole 130 people will see my TikToks. And then I repurpose it and share it other places. And if it's not good enough, whatever, it's 5 minutes of my life and I'm done. I can go back to the things that are actually moving my business forward.
I think another thing to look at when you're creating all this content for these platforms is to ask yourself how, like, you took a day out of your schedule to create 2 weeks worth of reels that 2 days after they have aired on the platform, nobody's going to see them again.
Yep.
Right? It's vanishing content.
Yes.
And that is not the kind of content you should be spending time creating.
No, and I'll tell you too, like, gosh, planning things 2 weeks out. Like, I mean, other than obviously, you should have been, and I think it was our last episode was thinking about Christmas, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yes, there are things you should be planning months and months out, but social media, I'm not a big fan. I'm not a huge proponent of scheduling posts. I haven't been for a long time. And the media climate that we're in right now, even planning it out and rehearsing it, you could be like, this is going to be so perfect. And then something's going to happen and you're going to look like the arsehole because you posted some happy dance and there was a massive earthquake in Haiti. Or like I think planning that far in advance to be for content's sake, I think is really I think it's futile, really. Like, it's silly.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to create content to be consumed digitally, I would really invest my time in platforms like YouTube or blog posts. That content never goes away. It's searchable.
Exactly.
It's searchable.
Yeah.
How often have you gone onto YouTube to search, like, how to fix my dripping faucet? And the top video that comes up was posted 4 years ago by a plumber somewhere.
Exactly.
And the reason it keeps resurfacing is because it's exactly the content you need right now to fix your leaky faucet.
Exactly.
Now, if you were to go onto Instagram and try to find a post on how to fix your leaky faucet, well, good luck with that, right?
No, it would probably give me Farrah Fawcett. Like, it wouldn't even know.
And the funny thing is, there's probably a lot of plumbers out there who have posted a reel or a video or an IGTV on how to fix a leaky faucet. Nobody's ever going to see it.
Unless I follow that person and they redirect me back to their highlights. And
the truth is, most of us are not following plumbers. Like, we're very grateful to the plumber with the YouTube channel.
Yes.
But we're not.
That's very true.
Right?
Yep.
And maybe if you're doing a home reno, okay, yeah, I am going to follow this guy for a little while because he has some good information on how to, do these things. But that's the reality. The reality is most of us, when we're searching for content, the content we wind up consuming is not people we follow. We might start following them afterwards.
Yeah.
But we're there because we want to learn something or we want to be entertained or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. So this is where, if you're going to spend full days on content creation, spend it on content that will have a long life.
Yeah, and really like meaningfully moves your business forward, like
Mm-hmm.
helps you with a product launch or helps you. And so, for instance, in Melissa's case, like you're launching your awesome Christmas card collection. If you spent an hour doing a creative reel for your Christmas card collection that allowed you to launch that with more fanfare to more people, you might consider doing it. But you also might say, you know what? There's other things that I know for sure I could do with that hour that are going to give me a different outcome. And that's one, your choice. And two, that's also something I think we all need to remember, like where that creativity lies for us, for each of us, it's totally different. And so you have to set your own boundaries on what, do you want to dance on TikTok or do you not want to dance on TikTok?
Mm-hmm.
Both are okay. And I think too, that's sort of the pressure thing, like setting the boundaries. One of the things that I've done more this year is set a lot of boundaries around how I interact on social media, but I've also weeded out a lot of people. I don't follow people who make me feel bad about myself.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like I sought those people out, but now I'm like, no, I realize now every time I see one of your posts, it just makes me feel glum. So why do I have you in my feed? Delete,
Yeah.
unfollow, goodbye.
Yeah, let's talk about boundaries a little bit more because I think one of the big challenges with social media is that it does have a mental health impact for
Mm-hmm.
many of us.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be both a positive and a negative one.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where I think we have to start being a lot more forceful with ourselves in terms of what we allow into
Yes.
our day. Because we are dealing with these algorithms, we don't have control over what we see to a
Mm-hmm.
certain extent, right? Like if you just follow people willy-nilly and you scroll willy-nilly, you're allowing the algorithm to take over. But if you start to put boundaries in place, so let's say for instance, you just mentioned that there's a lot of people you don't follow anymore because
Mm-hmm.
they make you feel bad. I'm in
Mm-hmm.
the same boat.
Mm-hmm.
There are many people who I follow who are muted
Yes.
simply because I just struggle with the content
Yep.
that they post. And it's not that I
Mm-hmm.
don't like, I still like the person. I still
Yep.
consider them a friend. It's just too hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you're going to use social media as a source of inspiration, it is crucial that you are very selective about the type of people that you follow.
Yeah.
And this can get into a whole other thing of like putting yourself into a bubble. But
Yes. Yes.
I'm talking about it from the perspective of just purely the type of content you see to to inspire you creatively.
Totally.
I'm not talking about politics or any of that kind of stuff.
No.
Like, and this is what I have started to do is I've really started to curate what I follow and what I see to the point now where it's very rare that I see something in my feed that I don't want to see.
Yes, ditto. And I think of it funny enough as, do you remember going into the actual library with actual books?
Mm-hmm.
If somebody
I
said to
still
you,
do.
I know exactly. And so so me as an example, if I walked in and said, I'm looking for the section on impressionist art, and they said, that's over here. And there's a whole like 15 shelves of books on, I'm not going to just pick up the whole bookshelf and take it home. I'm going to be selective about what books I want to pull off that shelf and leave others there. That doesn't mean that my selection is final. It doesn't mean that I can't put books back on the shelf after experimenting with them and saying, nope, this doesn't work for me, right? But those, to me, that's the way I think of Instagram, is what inspiration do I need to pull off the shelf today? And what can I put back? There's things, things that serve me now and things that might serve me later, and those will ebb and flow. And that I have muted I've been very transparent about my journey to not have children, but I quite often will mute friends who are going through a pregnancy journey because I don't need to see that. It doesn't mean that I'm not celebrating them or all of that joy. It means that it doesn't need to be something that is put in my face that I choose to let into my life at this moment, right? And so that it's to me a very healthy boundary. And I think you need to set that within, depending on what that could be, literally within a platform, right? Like who you follow, and but also saying, no, I don't want TikTok. That's a boundary. I'm not going into that pond. I'm not even going to sign up for an account.
Hmm.
That's a very perfectly reasonable boundary as well, right? But it ebbs and flows. I know for sure I go up and down on my what I want to give of myself and what I want to take from others on these platforms.
Yeah, I remember a couple years ago listening to an interview with Danielle Laporte, I believe. I think that's who
Hmm.
it was. And they were talking about Instagram, and she was saying how she changes up who she follows all the time. Because when she starts following somebody, and she only follows a handful of people at any given time, but she
Hmm.
said when she starts following somebody, she wants to absorb everything about them. So
Hmm.
she only wants to see a handful of people in her feed. And once she feels like she's absorbed everything that she can to know about them and she's gotten to know who they are, she unfollows them and starts with a new batch. And
Wow.
I thought that was a really interesting, I don't think that's something that would work for me, but
Yeah.
I just thought that's a really interesting way to use social media. And the one thing that struck me about it is like, this is somebody who is controlling social media for herself
Yes. Yes.
in a way that works for her.
Yeah.
And that's what I thought was really interesting about it. She knows how her brain works. She
Hmm.
knows how she wants to spend her time. And she knows what she's trying to get out of this platform. And she has forced the platform to work for her by saying that I am not going to follow
Brilliant.
blindly
Yes.
what you're telling me. I'm going to do it my way.
Yes. Brilliant.
Yeah. And I thought that was really interesting because algorithms are designed to make you act in a certain way.
Yeah.
Like we are being trained by little dopamine hits. It's like when you train
Yeah.
your dog, right? You know, you got the
Yes.
little tasty liver treats, right? They know if
Yeah.
they do the thing, they get the treat. Um, and that's what social media is doing to us. It's
Yes.
training us to do what we want. And it was interesting when this last announcement came out from Instagram about how they were no longer going to be a photo sharing platform, blah blah blah. The uproar was
I know.
deafening. And all I
No
could think
kidding.
was, you know what, you guys, they do this every 2 years.
No
And
kidding.
you all freak out and say that you're not going to use the platform. I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. And yet here we all are.
I know. No kidding. I remember, God, it's probably been a decade that I was like, yeah, I don't think it's going to be long now for me on Facebook. Facebook's just kind of like, it's gone past its moment. And
Oh
what do I
yeah,
have?
when Instagram went from a chronological order to showing you whatever they want.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
The sky is falling. I'm leaving this platform.
Right?
And then we all went through that little period where everybody was saying, make sure you turn on notifications when I post so that you don't miss,
Yes.
because the algorithm.
Yes.
Remember when everybody was doing that? And it
Yes.
was just like, oh my goodness, you sound so needy.
Hmm. That's what I see from a lot of people on social media is their posts just scream needy.
This
And
exactly.
and I was just talking with my husband about it the other day around an art gallery, and I was like, no, they need me. I don't need them. Like in terms of Instagram needs you. You don't
Yes.
need them.
And
TikTok needs you. You don't need them. You can use them, but don't make it that, yeah, they should not own you
no, absolutely not. So
or your schedule or your content creation or nothing.
so I
You're
think
not the boss of me.
that's right. You know what? You know that ornery attitude that made you quit your day job? Like
Yes.
channel that into social media. You are
Yes.
not the boss of me. You are
Yeah.
not in control. I get to say how I run my business and how I spend my time. And if you want to make reels all day,
You know
make
what?
reels all day. Like
Honestly,
go at it.
Melissa, we need to assign. So, in marketing and branding exercises, how we assign customer personas, and we have like Kim. Kim's our 42-year-old single mom who blah, blah, blah. Okay. So we're going to rename all of the platforms, and Instagram is Bob, and Bob is the VP of sales, and he is an asshole. And so, like, this is how we need to think of these platforms. And what am I doing to make Bob happy today? Or what's Bob going to do for me today?
Or yeah, or you know what? Screw Bob today. I don't have the energy for
Exactly.
Bob.
Yes,
Bob's an
exactly.
energy
Because
vampire.
I don't work for Bob no mo. This is my business. I work for me.
I'm in the art department, not the
Exactly.
marketing department. Bob can go
Exactly.
back to his office, his wing of
Yeah,
the
you could
building.
exactly. You go over there. Exactly.
That's actually a really fun way to take a look at it. I think that's yeah, I think it's really important to just remember these
Yeah.
platforms are tools. They do not control you. They
Yes.
should not. If they are controlling you, you should be afraid. You really need to have a
Yeah.
look at your relationship with technology and social media and data collection platforms, which is what social
Yes.
media is. It's a data collection platform.
Yes. Don't let writing things down, doing this for the gram. I have to do this. I have to eat breakfast now. I have to eat lunch now. I have to post to Instagram now. I have to do the TikTok. No, you don't. No, you don't. Like, wait until the stomach growls and then do it.
Yeah,
Don't,
post when you
don't,
have something to say.
yeah. Like, I don't want to have something that, like, oh, that's pretty from Heather. Like, oh, that's pretty from Heather. Like, and then just keep scrolling. I want to have something so awesome that stops you in your scroll, that
Mm-hmm.
makes you want to read the caption. And that doesn't happen when I'm posting every 9 a.m. on Tuesday.
Right. Yeah.
That's not going to happen.
No.
Like,
I have definitely moved in the direction of just like, you know what? I don't have anything to say today, so I'm not going to say anything.
ditto. I'm totally with you. And there have been days, funny enough, but then, and this is where the so, like, one of the lovely things that I love about Instagram is the community that you build and the network of people that you have the opportunity to really connect with. And I was silent for a couple of days and I got messages. Hi, is everything okay? Where are you? Are you okay? And I'm like, I'm fine. I'm just taking, like, do I need to post an out of office? Is that what I need to do?
Mm.
Cause,
That's
and
also a
so,
little frightening, the fact that
which is exactly. And, like, at the same time, I'm like, that's so thoughtful that you care.
yes,
Right. So, like,
yes,
I always look glass half full. I'm always like, well, that was nice of you. At the same time, I'm like, that immediately made me feel guilty for not being there, and
that stresses me out. Actually,
that
it's
I was somehow disappointing
yeah,
you for
it's
living my life.
that stresses me out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's where it's like such a fine boundary
Mm-hmm.
between this community that you've built, right? And you want to give to them, and then you want people to want to take from you, but I only want them to take what I'm offering. And I think that's where sometimes the boundaries is, they want more than I'm offering. And
Yeah.
so where do you draw that line, you know?
It's gotten very interesting. I am very conscientious of what I post now. I
Hmm.
absolutely, in years past, I would just post everything, like blah,
Hmm.
like a big
Yeah.
blah blah blah. And I think this is maybe something to do with age as well. But as I've gotten older, it's like, you know what? I am quite happy with my life just being my life. So now,
Yeah.
basically, on my feed, you see my art. And in my stories, you see my art and you see a little bit of my gardening because I'm just going to say it. I'm super proud of my gardening.
Yeah, you should be. You should be.
And gardening is my stress relief.
Yeah.
And occasionally I just pop in and shoot the breeze, but not very often anymore. I don't even show my dog much anymore, and I know a lot of people follow me just for him.
Well, because he's so cute.
He is cute. He is cute, but again,
Uh-huh.
that's just my private life, and I don't
Totally.
feel the need to put it out there anymore, and I don't feel the need to let people into it anymore. I feel like I'm very generous in
Hmm.
allowing people into my creative life,
Yep.
and that's as far as it needs to go.
Totally.
And I'm cool with that.
Yes.
So yeah, I think that's what we need to do is just, and that's the other thing. I can't create on a schedule.
No.
I mean, I create for a living, and that is very different from creating for a hobby.
Yes.
I do have to create on demand, but I create on demand for my clients,
Yes.
right? I'm not going to create on demand for a social media tool.
No.
Very different things.
Totally.
And so when I am creating, and a lot of the stuff I have to quote unquote create on demand for clients is stuff that I am not free to share, often for
Right.
months.
Yes.
And in some cases, I mean, I have multiple finished projects that are out there, or they're not out there. The projects are finished,
Yep.
but the person I've created them for is not launching them for
Yep.
a long time yet. And so I
Yep.
can't share that.
Yes.
I have to sit on it. The stuff that I do share is the stuff that I'm creating either to sell through my business or to share with my newsletter list, or because I just want to make something for me. And I do
Yep.
make a lot of my art for myself. And that's the stuff I share. And I share it when I feel like it's good enough. I share it when I feel like I am finished it, which sometimes I can't do in a day.
Yeah.
Or a week or even a month. Like,
Or even a month. Exactly.
it's just, and I'm not going to rush through something just because I need to post something.
Totally. And it's so funny. I will think to myself, and I try to stick to like OG Instagram. It's the Insta. It's what am I doing in that moment, and how do I feel about putting it out there right then?
Mm-hmm.
And that ebbs and flows depending on the day, for sure, the week, the political climate, all the things, right? But I'll sit down and I'll do a post, and then I'm like, oh, I'm like, this is the second post I've done in a day to my grid. And I'm thinking, well, momentarily I'm like, well, should I save
it?
Tomorrow?
Should I save it?
And then I'm like, no. Like I wanted to post it now. The mood and the energy, it's coming out now, and there's no holding until tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that I treat my use of these tools as another way to express myself artistically.
Mm-hmm.
And if I see it as something that's being conscriptive about that strips the fun away. And so I've gone to create TikToks and reels, and halfway through things have gone wrong, and that's the end of it. We're done, tapped out.
Yeah.
I'm not, and there's no being like, well, I need to get this TikTok done. No,
Yeah.
Who says so? Who says so? And if that who was me earlier in the day, guess what? I can tell myself that it's no longer a valid thing to do, and change course and move on.
That's right, because you're the boss of you.
Exactly. Exactly. Which is honestly, that's easier said than done. I think a lot of us particularly as artists and creative, we set a lot of high expectations for ourselves.
Mm-hmm. A lot of us are people pleasers, or algorithm pleasers. That translates into being an algorithm pleaser.
Yes. And we, when people I don't live by the likes, but I'll tell you, even though the painting hasn't sold, to know that a lot of people like it is still a good feeling,
mm-hmm.
right? And so you can't discount that. And I think we need to realize that there is still an emotional toll, good and bad, and we need to control how we let that affect us.
I think it's really important to pay attention to your body when you're on social media. Like, do you tense up? Do you start to feel angry? Do you start to feel sad? Are you really happy? Does something make you really happy? Or do you find that your jaw is clenched? Do you feel a pit in your stomach? Like, pay attention to those feelings, because they're telling you something.
Oh, they totally are.
And it could be the person whose work you're looking at, or it could be like scroll fatigue. Like, oh my God, you know what? I am sitting here and my shoulders are up around my earlobes because I've been scrolling for half an hour and I've forgotten how to relax my body.
Yep.
Or, are you scrolling just because you have nothing else to do? Are you scrolling because you're bored? Are you why are you bored?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you really need to look deeper and I've found myself doing this a lot in the second half of this pandemic. I just find myself on my phone with no purpose in mind. I'm sort of flipping between Instagram, Facebook, a couple of games that I play, maybe Reddit, and an hour and a half has gone by and I've realized that didn't fulfill me in any way. I still feel empty because I miss my friends and I miss life.
Honestly, I'll tell you, I've put a lot of energy recently because I just had a really interesting conversation with a Insta friend who I know from my years in blogging. He had posted something around the vaccine conversation, and I express support for her in expressing her opinion. So I'm not expressing support in any way, shape, or form for either side. I'm simply saying to my friend, I pat you on the back for standing up for your convictions. I'm not saying which way those lie. I'm just trying to express support for a friend. And one of the things where that came from and what I have been trying to do recently is there's so much divide amongst people, and there's almost like witch hunting in pointing fingers and you're doing this and you're not wearing your mask right. And I even heard from a girlfriend, I didn't want to post my summer vacation photos because we were hanging out with another family and I didn't want to get shamed that my girls were like arm in arm with other kids.
And that's where the
And
boundaries have to come into
and
place.
that's where the boundaries have to come into place in terms of like, if that person shames you, block that fucker. I am sorry. Like, I have no room for that. And if you're not going to say it to my face, you certainly can't say it over a keyboard. But where I've come from is that I've pulled back from contributing content. So I'm not contributing as much. I'm not being as active just because I have other things to do. But I have also said that in the time that I'm spending consuming, I'm going to be a much more engaged and actively supportive person. So if I like that new kitchen sink that you've got, I'm going to like that photo and I'm going to comment on that photo telling you how beautiful I think it is.
Yeah.
I'm not, there's no passive scrolling anymore. If I'm going to like a photo, I'm going to take the time to comment, and I mean like a meaningful comment, not an emoji. Usually a meaningful a comment followed by an emoji. But it's, to me, it's much more about actively contributing positive. And that can be from removing myself from posting content, because if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. But also actively just supporting other people in the content that they're putting out there. So making sure that I say, I like this, I like that, this is pretty, that color looks great on you, your kids look so happy, whatever that is. And to me, I'm almost thinking of it like, wait for it, real life. If I saw that person and they pulled that photo out of a photo book and said, here's the kids on vacation, would I just lean into it and then just look at them for the next one? Or would I say something
Swipe.
like, wow, exactly, like swipe and just like take it out of their hand and move on to the next, like throw it away and wait for the next photo to like load up? No, I would say, wow, your kids look so happy. Wow, Melissa, that garden looks spectacular. What are you doing to your tomatoes? Like, that is, to me, and so we all say you get what you get out of social media, what you put in. I would challenge us to put in more good from the giver end as opposed to from the taking end, so that you're leading by example, so that when you do post your photo of your garden, everybody else who you have given meaningful feedback to hopefully sees the opportunity.
This is the thing. There are times where I will go days or even weeks without posting, and I get mad that I'm not growing, that I'm not like I'll have a little temper tantrum, right?
Yeah.
That people aren't commenting, or I'm not getting traction or anything. And it's like, yeah, but you haven't given any traction.
Exactly.
You can't, you really do have to step back and say, like, what am I giving?
Yeah.
You can't expect people to fall all over you when you're not willing to fall all over them.
Exactly.
Not saying we all need to be falling, but you know what I mean, right?
It's so clear. Like, we all talk, when you're in relationships, they talk about love language. Like, what's my love language, right? And so different people, certain people react differently. Brian and I, for instance, have very different love languages. The way that I feel loved and appreciated and needed are the ways that he feels suffocated and completely like overwhelmed, right? And we know that. We know how to, but Instagram's love language, TikTok's love language, YouTube's love language, we know what that is. It's like, comment, share, and give. And so it's easy to speak my love language on here, right? Like, it's easy to give that feedback to friends, family, artists who inspire you. And so, just as an example, I saw a post from an artist who, she continues to inspire me, and she just had a massive sale that went off without a hitch. And instead of just liking that photo and saying in my head, good for her, like, because truly good for her, like,
Mm-hmm.
well done you. Um, and that in terms of just framing up your language, instead of saying like, well, good for her, change it up and it's good for her, because that's like good for her,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I commented and said, thank you so much. You're such an inspiration. Keep doing what you're doing. Because that, to me, like, if I was her on the receiving end of that comment, that would mean a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like to think of like, give what you want to get back. And that, I think if we're putting energy in social media, that's where your energy should go. Because in fact, I think you'll get a lot more back from it emotionally. But also, I think that the ROI that we're looking for when we post, and it's me, we will actually get the results we were looking for if we take a different tack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Posting more content is not the way to go about it.
That's just getting louder at the dinner party, right? Like, if you
Yes.
want more people to listen to you, getting louder and standing on your chair, sure, a few more people will listen for a
But you know
minute,
what
and then
actually
everybody.
happens? A lot of people
Yeah,
just start to shut you out because
that's
it's like,
exactly it.
oh, stop talking, you know?
That's exactly it. Whereas if you went to every single person at the dinner party and had an individual conversation, everybody
You'd
would
walk away
remember
from that
this.
dinner party and be like, that was fun. I like that.
Exactly.
That was
I
good.
like that. The celebrating of others. And I think that, particularly for artists, letting these, the community and the creativity fuel you as
Yeah.
opposed to suppress you, and using this tool to like bring yourself up and bring others up. I think as like that, as artists and creatives, should be our goal, is to use the tool, use the power for real good, as opposed to just selling things.
Mm-hmm. Or trying to
Yeah.
gain followers or
Yeah,
be
like
clingy.
don't sell yourself. Like, sell yourself, yes. Build your brand, sell yourself, but
But don't sell out.
don't sell out. Exactly. Like, don't sell your soul to the devil. Don't sell it to Bob, because Bob is not worth it.
Yeah. So I think what we're trying to say in this episode is we're not saying you should quit Instagram or Facebook or
Mm-mm.
any of these things. If you know what, if that's the right decision for you though, then
Yeah,
do it.
do it.
Don't feel that you have to stay just because you have to be on social media. You don't have to be on social media. Again,
Totally.
I'll point you back to that episode I talked about at the beginning of the season, the at the beginning of our chat today. That was
Yes.
episode 22 on how to promote your work off social media. But
Don't just delete yourself, though. Make sure to tell everybody to sign up for your e-newsletter before you
yeah,
delete
and
yourself.
you
But
know,
go ahead and delete
still
yourself if
keep your
that's right.
profile, but maybe just don't have the app on your phone, or
Yeah.
be more conscious of how
Conscious.
and when you're posting to it and how you're interacting on it. But the flip side is, if you love this stuff, then lean into it.
Yeah.
If you are the type of person who is very from like a politically active type person,
Yes,
if
yes,
that's
totally.
your thing and you want to
Yes.
use social media as a platform to
Rally
try
the
and bring
troops.
about
Yes.
change, rally the
Yeah.
troops, all that stuff, hey, great.
Good on ya.
100%
Totally.
awesome. If
Yes.
you are the type of person who doesn't want to see that on social media because it stresses you out, or I'm the type of person who likes to fix all the problems. And when I see all the problems of the world in my social media feed, it just makes me
It's
shrink.
overwhelming.
I start to
Yeah.
shrink and shrink and shrink down to a point because I feel like it's hopeless. So for me, that's just not my thing. And you know what?
Mhm.
That's okay too. I know
Yes.
recently a lot of people have started to kind of, I don't want to say shame, that's not the right word, but strongly encourage
shame and
people
bully. Yep.
with
Shame
platforms
and bully.
to
Yep.
make their position known. You don't have to do that. If that makes you
No.
uncomfortable, don't do it. You come first and foremost. Your mental health
Totally.
comes first and foremost. And you need to take control over these platforms and not let them and the people on them take control of you, okay?
Totally.
And that means you need to set boundaries about what you're going to put out there, what you're going to share, who you're going to share it with. You need to put boundaries around what you're going to consume, whom you're going to consume it from, and what you're going to take away from what you're consuming.
Yes.
And yes, at the end of the day, create more than you consume, but don't feel you need to create to fulfill an
Yes.
algorithm.
Yeah.
Create because it's what we do. We are creatives. That's
Yes.
we create. It's a verb.
Yes, exactly. And I think too, like recognize it's not I'm going to be this or I'm going to be that. Like I'm thinking specifically funny enough of you, Melissa, doing what is it? I'm totally forgetting the hashtag, but you do it and it's 30 days in a row and you do a sketch every day
Oh, no,
and
you're thinking the 100-day project.
100-day project,
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah.
So like something like that or a 30-day challenge or whatever. You can participate and be active for 30 days in a row and participating and go, 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 go.
And then you can
And
take a
then you
break for
do
30 days.
exactly. And then you do a post that you says, well, that was fun, guys. I'll see you in 30 days.
Yeah.
So you can literally go from one extreme to the other, or you can live in 50-50 land, or you can go like, it's your teeter totter. So you can go up and down depending on what your business needs are. And I think that really, just as Melissa said, that's the key to this whole thing is setting your boundaries and know that they'll evolve over time and depending on, what's going on.
And be very aware of the return on investment you're getting for your time. And
Yes.
don't confuse return on investment with vanity metrics.
Yes.
Okay?
And don't compare yourself to others too, because one of the things that I, particularly in terms of seeing other creators, is you're like, but they're doing all of this.
doesn't
But
mean you have to.
they might have a social media assistant
Yes.
and a person who runs their website and a person who cleans their studio at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all of those people for me, and you're all of those people for you. And so I can't do as much as the person who has a team because they have a team.
Yeah.
And so don't forget that. And even though it might not optically look like they have a team,
you'd be amazed.
You'd be amazed. Exactly. You'd be amazed how many people have teams.
I am teams for many people.
Yes, I was just about to say I am teams for a few people too. And so don't forget that, right? So don't get lost don't let comparison rob you of your creative juices. And comparison is the thief of joy. Don't let that go away.
Yeah. Like Heather said, you're in charge. You are the boss of you. Yeah. And don't let others dictate how you run your business and how you take care of yourself.
Yeah.
So,
yes.
I think that's all we have to say about that today.
In short, you are the boss of you, and you are not the boss of me. Love,
I am the boss of me, and I am saying that we have said all we need to say about this today.
And now goodbye. Goodbye.
No, I hope everybody found a little bit of comfort in this episode, and I hope that it gave you all some impetus, I guess, to have a little bit of a think about how you're using these platforms and whether they are beneficial to you or harmful to you, or a mix of both, and what you can do to rejig things so that they are beneficial to you, so that they are a place of inspiration. They are a place where you can sell your work. They are a place where you can connect with other people and feel good about all of those things. So that it is a place that when you do sit down for your 10 minutes on Instagram for the day or for the week or whatever the number is for you, you feel like you had a really good time while you were there.
Yeah. I feel like I want people to feel empowered in their decision making around putting boundaries on this and don't feel guilty about setting boundaries. Don't feel guilty about saying no to more time on Instagram, to creating reels or whatever that is. Feel empowered in your decision making on this, just like you should feel empowered about all of your business decisions.
And the best way to feel empowered is to really know what the impact is on your business when you do these activities.
Yeah. And own it and just stand by it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you, Heather. It was lovely to chat with you after our little break over the summer. That is it for this week. I will leave links to some of the things we talked about in the show notes, particularly to a video by illustrator Holly Exley out of the UK. She was kind of the one who kicked off this discussion about social media earlier in the summer, and a lot of people have since commented on it or done their take on it, and that's what we were essentially doing today, and where we got the idea. So I will leave links to all of that in the show notes. And we will be back with a new episode next week. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us for the And She Looked Up Creative Hour. If you're looking for links or resources mentioned in this episode, you can find detailed show notes on our website at andshelookedup.com. While you're there, be sure to sign up for our newsletter for more business tips, profiles of inspiring Canadian creative women, and so much more. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to subscribe to the show via your podcast app of choice so you never miss an episode. We always love to hear from you, so we'd love it if you'd leave us a review through iTunes or Apple Podcasts. Drop us a note via our website at andshelookedup.com or come say hi on Instagram at andshelookedup. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.